Ciao ragazzi, my name is Scott, and today I have an announcement and another question. This is going to be a lot like on my last video, except it's not really going to be about who would win, God or science. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about my announcement. So, this will be my last video in August. Now, yeah, see, I got you guys. See, you guys were worried. Well, not all of you, but some of you. Now, I'm not saying this is my last video ever. I'm just saying that now that I'm going back to school, it's going to be hard for me to upload a lot, especially since all the college courses I have to take later on. And, you know, the homework, studying, you know, it's just hard, you know. So yeah, I will try to upload if I have no school, if I have days off, or maybe on Saturdays or Sundays. It all depends on my schedule. It all depends on, you know, what I gotta do. Yeah, now there should be a gameplay video by at least Saturday or Sunday, because right now I just started building Equinox, and if you guys have watched my other Warframe videos, especially based on the Echoes of the Sentience update, you will know that Equinox is a TO.TO that I actually wanted. My ideal TO.TO. She is both, well, I don't know if it's she or he, I think she's transgender, but it is both offensive and defensive, so that's good. So I'm building her right now, but usually a TO.TO takes like 72 hours, and if you're good at math, you already know that that equals to 3 days, 3 whole days. So I may hopefully finish by at least Thursday, or I don't know, maybe even Friday. But I'll have to play it on Saturday or Sunday. So that's my first thing, okay? Again, I won't be able to upload as much as possible, so this could be my last video until I get really busy. And for those of you devoted subscribers, please don't unsubscribe if you don't see a lot of videos. It's just that for me as a student, it's hard being a YouTuber, first of all, especially starting out now. It's hard being a young gamer. Okay, and you know, it is just hard for me, and I'm sacrificing my time and what I actually have to get done by trying to entertain you guys. So yeah, that's my first announcement. Alright, now since that's out of the way, second thing, let's talk about the question I gave to the same group of people who I asked on my previous question. On my previous question, I talked about, you know, who would win, religion or science, who would win, God or science. So I'll put that in the link in the description below, or maybe in the card section at the top right. And make sure you go watch that video, because I also talk about some important stuff. So the same group of people who answered the question who would win, God or science, also answered the question I gave them on whether people with power actually do good things or bad things. Okay, so the question is, do people with power do good things or bad things? So 25% of people who were asked said they did good things. 75% of people said that they did bad things. So that's, you know, that's a huge majority that people think they do bad things. Now, this question was inspired by me getting kicked out of a community for the 4th time on Google+. And I'm not really going to talk about that, because that's just going to open wounds. I mean, I'm already, you know, thinking about that, and it's just going to open wounds that I don't want to open. But the fact that the person who removed me from the Google+ community felt like she had power over me, when in reality, it was all on her opinion, and what she thought was right, I thought was wrong. So we're going to talk about the answer. Now, let me tell you something. You may think power is someone that only God has. Or you may think power is something that only God has. You may think power is something that you have, or like how people control people, but that's the thing. Let me tell you 2 things. One, power is control. Power is controlling anything, everything, anyone, everyone. And let me tell you about the second thing. Everyone has power. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you live, you have power. Now this is not going to be a motivational video. I don't like to motivate people. I mean, I would, but I don't like to motivate people because I think it just brings false hope. But yeah, everyone has power, and it's a fact. I mean, it's also an opinion, but everyone has power technically. Think about it. Let's say you had the choice to choose between a banana or an apple. Let's say you just had the choice. What are you gonna eat? You would choose, I don't know, personally, I would choose a banana. Okay, I would choose a banana. And see, that's power because I had enough power to control what I did. Think of it in terms of video game. Think of it in terms of Planetside 2. Alright, this is the video game I'm playing right now. Planetside 2 is all about power. It really is. It's just a prime example of what power is. The more influence you have, the more influence you have over areas, okay, the more control you have and the more powerful you become. It's all about control. When it comes between a man and an object, I mean, power is just everywhere. If you had a choice to either, I don't know, do homework or decide to go ahead and watch TV, it's all on you, okay? Some people would advise to do homework. Some people would advise to go watch TV. In my opinion, I would do homework if I had the mindset. But you may just go ahead and watch TV. But the thing is that in that process, you had power and you exerted your power over your life. Objects with objects don't really happen because objects aren't really alive, okay? But let's talk about what about people on people. Now this is the most important thing as well. And I think video games also show a good example of that. Imagine fighting a raid. Imagine participating in a raid. Okay, in MMOs, RPGs. Like not like Planetside 2. But just imagine participating in a raid, okay? And imagine you're level 5 and you have to at least be level 80, but somehow you got in. You're going to die. But you see, here's the thing. The enemy that everyone is trying to defeat has more power over you. And when you fight that person, they have more control over you. They have more control of the situation. I think when it comes to people on people, in terms of power, it's like a huge example. People think they have power all the time. Like bullying, okay? It's their opinion of whether they think they have power or not that results in them believing that they have power or not. Machiavelli wrote a book, I forgot the name, I think it was called The Prince, yeah, The Prince. And that book was all about power, and in that book, he shows how people need to control, other people and stuff in order to rise to power. Sometimes you're going to have to make someone fall in order to rise to power. And it's sad, but it's the truth. I remember one time, I think Machiavelli wrote this in his book, he was talking about how if you have enemies, help them enough to the point where they'll actually help you rise to power. Now you see, power is all a game too. It's all about the mindset. Bullies may think they have power. Look, I'm no saint when it comes to bullying. I have been bullied and I have bullied. So I'm no saint. And yes, there are times, and there were times that, and there are going to be times where I feel like I have more control over a person, more control over the situation. Okay? So how does this process work? When you have your first argument with your parent and stuff, it's because before you didn't really think you had power over anyone, even your parents. Your parents believed they had power over you, but then when you had your first argument, that's when the contest begins on who has the most power, you or your parent. And you know what? At the time, you're going to think it's you because it's on your opinion. Every time children and parents argue, it's based on opinion. The parent thinks they're right, the child thinks they're right, until they think twice on the same coin. And then like, it's like, how do you use your power to control people? It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Martin Luther had power. He had power over, you know, what he wanted to do in life, which was to make sure every black person in this earth had civil rights. And those individual people who followed him, who led themselves to follow him, had enough power to make that choice. Sometimes people exert authority over you, and sometimes that can be a good thing or a bad thing. But that's all on your opinion. And I know I'm talking a lot about opinions. Actually, you know what? I will put in the link in the description below or in the card section at the top right. And how I say, is racism an opinion? And how have opinions changed the world? Now, if you don't believe power is good or evil, or is used for good or evil, okay, then let me give you some examples. Let's see. Okay, in the 1950s, and I believe the term came later, there was a term known as war children. Now, during the 1950s, a lot of men died. A lot of soldiers died. And husbands who actually survived, they weren't the same. So, like, you know, after World War II, you know, a lot of people died, and people who didn't die, they came back and they weren't the same. So women had to take up their jobs, and they spent, you know, a lot of their time doing the job. They had full-time jobs, and the children would stay home and would actually get raped. It's the sad truth. They would get raped. Now, the people who raped them felt like they had control over them, felt like they had authority over them. It's disgusting in my opinion, but that's the truth. How you exert power over a person all depends on your position. Kings back in the Middle Ages, I'm not sure whether it was before or after the Renaissance, but I know at some point kings believed that God gave them power to exert authority over everyone. And you know what? They felt like they were justified in doing so. But you see, you may be asking, Orville, you just said earlier in this video that I have power. Well, how come I don't have power over my kids? How come I don't know? See, it's based on their position. It's based on their mindset. Sometimes people have a higher position than you, which is why, and I don't know whether, yeah, I think I did. When I talked about how I got kicked out of another community, okay, in Google Plus, the person who kicked me out had a higher position. It doesn't matter about higher power or lower power. Everyone has power. Power doesn't have any length. It doesn't have any limit. It doesn't have a starting point. It's just your position in life. It's how you react to life instead of responding to life. Never react to life, respond to life. Always respond to life. If someone bullies you, are you going to react and feel sad, or are you going to respond and fight back? And that is what power is. And then you gain the upper hand and you gain the position because you show the bully that you have higher power than him. And you know, power doesn't just have to do with control. It also has to do with what people think of other people. Someone may think that they have more power than a person because, oh, they feel like they can figure out a person. I hate it when people do that. Look, I'm no saint too, because I've tried to figure out people as well. People that, in my opinion, I really hated. I got called stupid a lot of times, especially when I was a kid. And those people who called me stupid felt like they had power over me. Until, you know, I proved them wrong with, you know, some grades. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the verdict in a minute. So is power a good thing or bad thing? Is it used for good or evil for mostly? It all depends on the person's opinion, and it all depends on their position in life. If they think they're right, whatever. If they think they're wrong, whatever. If they have a certain mindset of control and will be able to control a person, then whatever. So that's my answer. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure to check out my previous videos on how I talk about this stuff. And yeah, you know, be a warrior. And I'll see you later.